What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of the All Pro JAFFOs. We're bringing the highly elevated sports talk for the highly elevated sports fan. I am your host, JP, and alongside me, as always, the 6'10 beast from the southeast, Mr. Country K.
Konnichiwa, people.
He is in the car with his loud ass muffler going off and the catalytic converter is on the way in, so it'll sound less like it's about to die and more like it'll actually get him where he needs to go. It has been quite the weekend in the world of sports. We had the Formula One race. We had boxing. There was Serena Williams. NFL's coming up this week, so a whole lot of things have been going on. We just got done. Got probably about 45 minutes ago with the All Pro JAFFOs Fantasy Football League draft, and that is all set and locked in. We're basically waiting on the draft grades and everything else like that. But a 12-man league, PPR, with defensive players. It took a little while, but everyone seemed to have patience. Everyone was kind of in the entire time, minus K at the beginning wasn't there, but then the app wasn't working for him, and then so his first few picks got picked for him before he was in fully. Gustavo called me and told me afterwards that he had just woken up during his third pick, um, him being the number one overall pick. And then Sunshine's in there. He's his first time back playing fantasy football in a few years, and the motherfucker gets the best draft grade out of everybody apparently. So good for Sunshine. Uh, and good for the rest of the league, who is now waiting patiently for this Thursday to come up, uh, which is with the Bills and the Rams start off on Thursday. So that'll be a good one in SoFi Stadium for LA. And my first thing is, Kay, how happy are you with your team right now?
Initially, when I first saw those picks, the only one I was happy with was Joe Mixon. I was pissed about CeeDee Lamb for sure.
Yeah, as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh, he's not in." And I was like,
Yeah,
and the picks that are there with CeeDee Lamb and Joe Mixon, I was like, "Oh, he's not going to be happy about the CeeDee Lamb pick at all."
bro. Oh my God, pissed. Especially when I seen your off-season workouts and you look like Day for next Friday, fam. It was over there. I was done. I'm like, yo, take the whole Cowboys team and throw them over there in that same box they threw Jacques Cousteau shit in.
Uh, I figured if you were actually in, you probably would have gone Mixon and Harris back to back. If I would have guessed what you would have done there. Um,
So the only thing I was happy about when I picked defensive players earlier than everybody else, and when I got Aaron Donald and Michael Parsons, bro, I know that shook the whole fucking room.
yeah. Oh, for the most part, because everybody started picking up linebacker right after you got Michael Parsons, when everybody else was, oh shit, we got to start getting defense players now. And I was just like, it's too early, but fucking, here we go, Cade breaking everything. And Caleb did the same thing. Fucking, uh, he picked up a quarterback. He got Justin Herbert fairly early, and then right after that, people just started picking up their quarterbacks. and it left me with very difficult choices to make.
Very difficult. That's why I got 3 of them. I'm like, hey, I got one for sale.
Yeah, but I don't. I have 2 quarterbacks that you want no part of. So, but you have way too many tight ends and not enough running backs. And then fucking Matchsticks is all like, the champ is here, and he didn't even draft a kicker. That motherfucker didn't even draft a kicker.
Yeah, I don't know what he on. My kicker get wide receiver numbers.
I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I don't know, man. Some of the drafts were a little questionable, but I was looking at the matchups and everything like that, and man, oh man, I'm playing Matchsticks first game, so and it has me winning like an 80. Yeah, the, the what?
I said
There
if
it
you
goes. There
lose
it
to
goes.
Max Six and he doesn't have a kicker,
No, I mean the whole thing it says I have an 80% chance of winning. So like I think I'm projected like 173 or some shit like that, and he's projected like 123. Wouldn't have even mattered if he had a kicker. That shit wouldn't have worked out for him.
no,
Yeah.
with that fucking point differential, fuck no. Like Justin Tucker had to make 3 goddamn 70-yarders to fucking goddamn to close that gap. That's fucking almost 50 points.
Yep. It's predicting an ass whooping, that's for sure. But I don't know, man. Fantasy football this year, shit's gonna get competitive as fuck. 12-man league. It's my nephew's already talking shit on the chat. You know, even though he has no running backs. Just like, well, I guess.
I got one for him. He don't want. He didn't even tell me his team name. Hey, if he tell me his team name, I might have an offer for him. You know, just so he can have some serviceable guy. You know.
Where he's got nobody. He's got nobody. And I kind of want to keep it that way. I kind of want to keep it to where I'm not helping a goddamn person. Yeah, except for us. We're the only ones who are trying to help each other.
Somebody's
That's what
gonna
I'm
get.
saying.
Somebody's
That's
gonna
what
get
I'm saying.
asked for one of these quarterbacks.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, help me out, Kay. Give me a better quarterback.
Hold on, run that back one more time.
I was gonna say, help me out, Kay. Help me get a better quarterback.
I mean, you offered me Kirk Cousins. Did you try to disrespect me, or was it like an accident? Did you click the wrong guy?
Should I have given you Dak? Do you want Dak instead?
Bro, I don't need a quarterback. Why would I need 3 quarterbacks? I have a third quarterback as a trading tool. I'll keep Trevor Lawrence and get rid of motherfucking Aaron Rodgers if a motherfucker wants to, but that's why I put Mr. Burns up after. You know, Mr. Burns and the Simpsons, nothing ever is going to go in anyone else's favor. It's
All
all
right.
me.
So who do you want? Who do you want for Aaron Rodgers?
Honestly, bro, I'm look. You have nobody on offense that I want. I'm like at best, Mario.
In and out again. All right. No, I'm just gonna let you know, Kate. Nobody heard that. You sounded like Stephen Hawking's machine broke down. It is choppy as shit. You're going through that dead zone you always go through. And then you blow everybody's eardrums out. There they go. Now you're clear. Oh,
You can hear me. I'm pulling up right now.
oh okay. He's getting there soon. Yeah, man, I'm about to call Sunshine out. I'm gonna be like, hey, motherfucker. I talked to him earlier. I was like, you gonna be on? Or am I gonna have to scrap this Formula One shit again? He's like, no, I'll be on. I'm like, he's not on. I'm like, this motherfucker. Not on at all. I don't know, man. I have to be on his ass. Okay, he just got home.
Now the card's off. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I said so much. So I drafted 3 quarterbacks. I don't want a third quarterback. So that's why I was saying you have absolutely nothing I want as far as offense. Because everything I have gets more targets than the guys you have, like skills position, running backs. Your quarterbacks, honestly, is ass.
Yeah, but you
So
have like 3 tight ends. 3 or 4 tight ends, actually.
I got, hold on. Let me pull it up right now. I know I have a set team, and then I also have trading tools. So yeah, I got Cameron Brake,
I mean,
Fairmouth.
if you keep it the way you have it right now, you're gonna have bench problems when it comes to swapping guys out during bye weeks.
No, because I made sure to even with the trading tools, I made sure to not have all of them in the same predicament. Like I can at least have enough to start. You know what I'm saying? So as far as I got 3 tight ends. I got 3 tight ends. So I have trading tools. Like Fairmouth, I can keep him and trade Cameron, or I can keep Cameron and trade Fairmouth. Easy. And if I trade Kyle Pitts, a motherfucker got to goddamn give me one of their. There got to be a good reason. You see what I'm saying? Like that's pretty much the way I set it up. Like I set up everything to pretty much be able to move around and maneuver a little bit, but I still have a fucking full team. You see what I'm saying? Like once I trade a quarterback, like say I trade Aaron Rodgers, get a real #1 receiver, I can trade CeeDee Lamb to somebody that don't fucking know, or that just want him, or like Mad Six because he's a Cowboy fan. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
I can get rid of that guy, and I still have good receivers in fucking Hunter Renfro and goddamn Tyler Boyd. See what I mean? And then on the bench, I got fucking goddamn Jamison Crowder. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know, man. I want to see your grade so bad.
I think it's low. I don't give a shit. Honestly, that grades don't mean nothing to me. Well, where do you
Oh,
get
wait.
the grades?
It should be our new Yahoos. They send it on the email.
That's true, but they'll tell you in the app too. I forgot where it was. Routine levels.
Damn. I have to see. Let me grab my laptop. Because I said the grade should be out by now. Let's see. Hey, college football was wild this
This
week.
past weekend.
Oh, yeah. Shit was crazy. We'll get into San Jose State and stuff like that later, too. But Like everything was pretty wild about this week. Yeah, god damn it. Are you seeing it? Because I'm looking for it right now real quick too.
No, honestly, and I'm still looking.
Fuck. Like I said,
Maybe
it
so.
should be in the emails of the grade and everything like that, but we'll see. And you know my laptop is slow as shit, so that's gonna be
Yeah, but I'm on my Yahoo app and I don't have shit.
I'm watching Hard Knocks right now and the Detroit Lions are still a joke, man.
Why you say that?
They're just bad. Just bad team. Well, I still haven't gotten anything in the mail for the grade just yet. But I'm gonna we can at least look at the teams and how everybody kind of stacked up. Let's see here. Yeah, it got pretty. Yeah, I think me and Sunshine had the two highest. Uh,
Draft grades?
well, not the draft grades, but when I was looking at it through like who we got, like who we're going to be playing against.
Oh, you talking about point differential?
Yeah,
Yeah,
me and
look that up.
Sunshine were the only ones in 170. Everybody else was like 160 or lower.
So, what's Sunshine's team name?
The Vix Bro. Hold on. The
No,
Vix
no, that's
Bros.
I'm playing this motherfucker, and I know exactly
Oh,
what his team name is. I just want to
could you say
make
it out loud?
sure I was
Could you
looking at
say it
the
out loud?
Vic's Bros Obedience School.
I thought it was pretty fucked up, but it's pretty funny. I'm not
That
gonna
shit's
lie.
fucking crazy.
That shit's hilarious. The Vix Bros Obedience School. For those of you who don't know, the obedience school is referring to a dog, referring to Michael Vick, and you can put two and two together from there. I thought when he came up with that name, I was like, Jesus Christ. I was like, no chill at all. And then, God damn it, this fucking computer. Now, well, all of that's kind of coming up. Oh, here we go. Now all of a sudden. Oh, yep. See how that goes. But while we're going, it's 7:30. So you guys already know what that means. It's college football time to talk about. It's been a fucking crazy weekend. Like we said, we've got all the scores and everything down at the bottom. And we've got the JAFFO correspondent to help us bring it in and talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the show, the great Corey Hammond. What's up, Corey? What's going on, man?
Wow. Right, guys? Wow.
Dude, where do we even begin? One, the Pac-12 is dead, so we can kind of get that out of the way.
Let's put a pin in the Pac-12 because I think it's pretty much a repeat performance of every week one of every season, and every time the SEC and Pac-12 have two of their better teams kind of face off. But we'll put a pin in it. Let's talk the rest of the positives.
Well, what other positives did we come? I mean, pretty much everything kind of went the way we thought it would. There were a couple of upsets. Florida came in and fucking A, who did they beat?
Utah.
Utah.
Now
Number
we were
7
early.
Utah.
Yeah, now we were early on that game. Another Pac-12 miss, but we were early on that game. But that was the game that I told everybody not to toot any horns or anything like that. That's not my style. You
Not
guys
at
know
all.
me well enough.
Never.
But even though I was a week early and I made that mistake, that was one of the games. That was the game I said that we should keep an eye on, and I think it was probably worth the watch if you got a chance.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, because like I said, Florida just came out, and it really didn't. I mean, Utah being ranked at number 7, you would think it'd be a little bit more than that, but it was just bad. It was just terrible, to be completely honest.
Well, when you watch that game, what I take away from that is that it was in Gainesville. That's a tough place for anyone to play, especially a Pac-12, excuse me, opponent coming across. And Cameron Rising has the opportunity to win the game on the last play, throws an interception. The bunch formation that they had. If you're watching it at home at the bottom of the screen, it looked like there was just too many routes in the same vicinity. Athletic guys, especially SEC guys, are going to be able to defend their zone when it matters. And I think that's when you look at the end of the day, the difference between the teams when they played when it was Pac-12, especially versus the SEC. The difference is the level of athlete was just a tick higher on the SEC teams. And when you have a 6'7", 270 pound tight end, and that's what's going to get all the recognition, jumping over guys in the Oregon secondary, it overshadows the fact that Stetson Bennett was nearly flawless and made it look like the Oregon defense hadn't practiced all summer. So, Dan Lanning over there with Oregon's probably going to have a very, very excruciating film session. But let's get back to the general consensus, because let me just say this. For Utah to be in it with a team that kind of proved to me that at the end of the year, Florida is going to make a little bit of noise in the SEC. I'm not promising that they're going to beat Alabama or they're going to be, the leaders of their division in the SEC. But the game that they put out there against a quality Utah opponent that was returning a lot of starters from last year's run, that's a pretty impressive win for the Florida Gators.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So like when they come down and then it goes down more and more. The way I look at it is I'm trying to figure out. I mean, I know we said to put a pin in Pac-12, but this is one of those things that I was actually just kind of concerned about, because Pac-12, I mean, it just seems year after year, it just seems to get worse and worse. And I can't remember the last time the Pac-12 really had this bad of an opening weekend. I mean, yeah, considering who they played, I mean, Georgia just, I mean, with Oregon, just absolute, wrecking ball through that 49-3. Just, I
Yeah,
mean,
that was not the team to warm up against. That's for sure.
no, not at all. And,
Like I
it
like I
makes
said,
me wonder, is Bo Nix, at least in Oregon's sake, is this just one of those, like, they just played a better team and we'll kind of rely and see what happens in the next coming weeks? Or is this the Bo Nix that we're going to be getting all season? Because if that's the case, Oregon has no chance whatsoever.
well, what do they have a chance at? Because I think clearly the national championship implications for almost every Pac-12 team, regardless of the circumstances moving forward, it's going to be a really battle in a boardroom to convince somebody that a one-loss Pac-12 champion is going to be able to bounce out, some of the other possible candidates that are going to be available at the end of the season. So, a lot can change in the 15, 16, 17 weeks that it takes to get to the end of the college football season. So let's give the Pac-12 a chance to get up off the mat. But they clearly got knocked out in week 1. And for Bo, a kid who's basically been under the shadow of SEC, and his father, who was a Auburn quarterback. He's a freshman starter at Auburn, supposed to be the savior. Everything's supposed to be, perfect and gravy. And he's facing every week after week, of among the best defenses and defensive players the country has to offer. Flies out, gets a ticket to the Pac-12 team that's going to give him a choice of like 73 different uniform options each Saturday. And he was ready to live that high life, ready to live that, that senior year type of, journey for these transfer portal guys, but couldn't run fast enough from the SEC. And the one play I think that stands out is the freshman corner, and his first name's Malachi. I forget his last name. Number 24. He had that basically Odell Beckham-esque interception in the first quarter. It was relatively early in the game. It kind of set the tone. And if you really watch the film over and over again, and I had a message on Twitter, not for my 19 follows, which is I'm just a little bit more than a Twitter bot at this point. But my point is that if you actually watch the route and the ball placement, if the wide receiver is able to maintain his balance and get vertical, or at least stay vertical, because he started leaning back just like the defender. And we only get so many angles, and obviously none of us are athletic enough to do that ourselves. But if the receiver stays upright and maintains his trajectory towards the ball, maybe even tries to high point it because the ball was placed in his catch radius. That's not a bad decision and not a bad throw from a quarterback that is physically capable. So, when you're in the trenches and you're outmanned at offensive line, at defensive line, at their corners are covering your wide receivers one-on-one, and it's not a 50-50 ball. It's a 75-25, and you got to throw your guys open, right? It's a tough ask. So my joke was to you guys, and I texted this TJ, fast forward 7 weeks from now, after 4 or 5 weeks of conference play in the Pac-12, and we'll be talking about Bo Nix as a dark horse for the Heisman, because he's going to be putting up ridiculous Oregon-esque numbers. And I wouldn't be surprised to see that. We might even hear whispers about him being a potential quarterback prospect next March, and he's in a combine running like a 4.6 and, jumping off the screen like your boy Trey Lance, with all the athleticism. But the point is that, when these teams face up, the third string defensive linemen are probably going to beat the first string offensive lineman for the Oregon Ducks. The third string Georgia Bulldogs are probably capable of getting a pass rush. And it's a tough ask. And there's a reason Bo Nix left the SEC. And it's just a shame that he couldn't hide that week one.
No, he couldn't hide at all. It was just a nightmare situation.
Now, the Utah-Florida was a better performance from the Pac-12. It was a more representative football game, showed that at times the Utah defense was, legitimate, and at times the Utah offense was legitimate. But, people are going to talk about how special Richardson is on the flash plays. I think it's a credit to the coaching staff that they were able to get all three phases: offense, defense, special teams, blocking, kick coverage, angle of pursuit. Like, every level of the Florida Gators looked like they had increased, in efficiency since the time that they've changed coaches in the offseason. So you got to really give, Billy Napier and his staff a lot of credit, because a lot has been talked about how they're going to do the new age social media garbage and all this fancy, NIL, get the players money, get the players commercials type, sales pitch to young athletes coming in, in the recruiting stage. But at the end of the day, your scheme has to produce points on the field. And, wherever Billy Napier's been, his offenses especially have been able to put up points. And, Florida looks to, at least after, a nice start in week one, they look to potentially make some noise in the SEC. I don't know how much that's going to be, because we'll see how great Utah is in comparison to some of the other teams that will play later. But, Utah, at least compared to what Oregon did for the Pac-12, I would say that Utah put up more a little bit more. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, No, for sure. I mean, I think Florida, this might catapult them. It being a top 10 team that they put down, it might put them at least within the top 25. I don't really see them any further in the 20s just yet. Again, you kind of got to have to see more from the team to figure it out. But were
Yeah,
there
and
any games this week that either surprised you or were kind of like, oh, well, yeah, for the most part, were there any of the games this week that surprised you of either the quality of play or the outcome was completely different than what you expected?
well, let me just give a little bit of a nod to the Notre Dame defense, especially because I thought that the Ohio State Notre Dame was just all from Notre Dame's 5 seed, coming in, and you talked about where teams are going to end up ranked. The first 5 weeks of the college football season, in my opinion, it's a waste of time to try to rank these teams because there's so little to compare. Really, all we're doing is we're not basing this information on anything other than what think may be. Obviously, we can look at a team like Alabama and say that they're going to be one of the better teams. But when we realistically wanted to break down, if after 1 week we had to send one team for SEC into some kind of survivor pool thing, and that's not how college football works. But college football has never been something that makes total sense. So this fake scenario is just as reasonable as having a computer pick the top 2 teams to play, or only having 4 and saying that having 8 would be too stressful on the student athletes for studying when we all know what goes on.
Right.
So back to my point, you'd have to say which team is better, Alabama or Georgia. Well, Georgia played Oregon, and Oregon is higher ranked, and Georgia beat them down worse. But I think you would find it tough to for a person in the state of Alabama, obviously.
No, for sure.
But even a reasonable person might actually say, well, Alabama, based on this and that and who they're returning, and Bryce Young looks to be even better, and he's clearly a better option than Stetson Bennett or whatever your argument is. After week 1, we have no idea because both of these teams have limited to test them at this point. So I think moving forward, we have a lot of games that need to decide where guys sit. But at least, that first week for the Pac-12 to have so many opportunities and not only not succeed, but, really fail to show in the matchup that was ranked and fail to take care of business when it could have been a big win for Utah moving forward. If we really think that this Florida team is legit, and they ended up ranked even after losing Utah, which probably would hurt them if Utah ended up being undefeated. Because when you're in the Pac-12, a lot of things have to break for you the right way for you to have a legitimate national championship shot. Excuse me. A lot of shushes in there. And I talk too much, so no shush. So the wins mean a lot less than some of the losses so far, at least in this week 1.
Right. So, I mean, I guess not all was too bad for the Pac-12. I'm still looking at here, right? USC beating Rice.
All
I
of the
mean, again,
teams,
it's
that played
66-14.
the terrible teams, they took care of business. So UCLA put up a lot of points. Stanford put up a lot of points. USC put up a lot of points, and they took care of business. And those teams might end up being relatively legitimate. And they, if they go undefeated, who knows? But the comparison when it gets into those boardrooms is, well, how was their conference as a whole? If we're going to put these teams side by side, how's their conference as a whole? USC goes undefeated. They beat all these teams, but they don't play. I don't have their schedule in front of me. Maybe they do, but they don't play an out of conference team. Maybe they played Notre Dame and it's a 7-10 game, and Notre Dame ends up being like 15th in the country. Is that enough to give USC a nod over, potentially let's say the Clemson Tigers lose one game, but they're the ACC champs. You know, the ACC isn't that big of a conference, and you know, the one thing Clemson lacks this year, I think, is a generational quarterback talent, and we'll see what that big guy can do. And I'm not going to ever try to pronounce his name without it literally being said in front of me correctly. I could say DJ. That's like DJU. I think they're currently playing right now, actually. But the losses for some of these teams early, when you know they had potential shots, like we talked about Cincinnati 2 weeks ago. You know, again, a little bit early. Cincinnati had another. You know, they were a similar position that the Pac-12 teams found themselves in. Week 1, prove it game against an SEC opponent. Now, you know, we might find out that the Arkansas Razorbacks and KJ Jefferson are, you know, a special type of team too. We might find out that when the SEC plays anybody, they're going to start beating everybody when everything's kind of on a similar level. But, you know, Cincinnati had a great season last year. And I think when you look at some of the throws that we've seen Desmond Ridder make in the NFL preseason, and the fact that probably by week 9 or 10, he's going to be the starter for the Atlanta Falcons because they brought in Marcus Mariota to be, you know, all but a bridge, probably. You know, who knows? I'm not going to, you know, go too far into the NFL analysis. But back to college, Cincinnati probably had a generational quarterback talent, brought them to a, you know, national championship appearance run, you know, in those final 4 games. And, you know, unfortunately for Cincinnati fans and you know, people in Ohio relatively close to the region, that might get as good as it gets, because when you had a chance to prove it, you know, KJ Jefferson, SEC talent was just too much for Cincinnati. Although they weren't embarrassed, they didn't take care of business.
Yeah. No, it was just it's just getting to a point right now where I want to see more of these teams, like especially week 1 and stuff like that. I would like to see more ranked teams play each other. I think because of what happened in these games where the ranked teams actually played each other, it did not work out the way one team would obviously hope. Obviously, when you're ranked in the top 25, you hope to at least be competitive, and to get blown out in a lot of these situations, you know, Oregon. I wouldn't say Utah gets blown out, but you're a top 10 team getting beaten by an unranked team. You know, it's one of those things that's probably why most colleges avoid it, but I would like to see more of it. And I think now with this extension that was announced with the college football playoff going from 4 to 12 by 2026, one, how many of those 12 teams are going to be coming from the SEC? And how much does that really open up for smaller conferences like, you know, like the Mountain West Conference, for example, you know, with San Jose State, Hawaii, Utah State, all, you know, Nevada, all those schools there, you know, all these smaller schools, Conference USA, and where does it really, realistically, does the 12 team aspect of the playoff really make a difference for those smaller schools?
Well, I think the interesting thing that you brought up is because, you know, early on in the college football season, we really get excited about these non-conference, you know, name brand matchups. Like you look at even, you know, LSU, Florida State. Now, both of those teams perennially are considered potentially going to be ranked at some point in the season if they show that they're, you know, somewhat competent. And, you know, good luck to Brian Kelly down there not getting murdered.
He needs to figure out his accent first before he
That's a
wants to
whole.
start figuring anything else out.
He is the quintessential snake oil salesman college football coach, and he does a great job, and he's been a great coach. But I don't think that you could go from a Notre Dame job and think that there's an upgrade anywhere. And the fact that he ran says a lot more about his character than, you know, the fact that, you know, he chose LSU, which I don't think after they just fired a guy that won a national championship that spoke their language, which none of us can understand, for him to go down there and even try an accent that is anything other than just him speaking English, it's no one's going to confuse the Bayou for, the height of the intellectual world. But at the same time, you're not going to fool them. They're not necessarily the most scholastic bunch, but their street smarts are probably better than Brian Kelly's. That's for sure.
No, that's for damn
He
sure.
should probably just answer the questions and make sure that his kicker and extra point team figure out how to execute their job when it's the only thing keeping them from going to overtime.
No, seriously, because that whole thing over there is just going to turn it into what was not too long ago considered one of the greatest college football teams ever assembled to what is now what a lot of people are calling a joke within about a year or two. It's not a good look for LSU. And if it continues down this route, I don't think Brian Kelly has a job next year.
I think week one in his first year is a little bit too soon. I think what Brian Kelly's proven in his career is that he's the type of coach that he will find double-digit win success. It's does he have what it takes to, in the biggest prime time games, in conference championships, in national championship semifinals, games like that, if he is going to be able to, outwit, outcoach, outadjust some of the teams that are either going to be more talented than his team on the field, and that shouldn't be the case if he does find success at LSU. He's never had trouble recruiting. I don't think, even when Brian Kelly was in his earlier stops, he would get kids. I think the kid, Jaden Daniels last night, he showed me that, it's obviously too early to start going this route. And what you see in Brian Kelly offenses is that he coaches his quarterbacks up to get the ball out, get it on time to receivers in space, get playmakers the ball with the ability to get yards after the catch. And he was able to do that. Plus, he was able to move the ball with his legs, and he was making decisive choices, whether it was to throw or pass quickly. And he was, relatively efficient, I'd say. And for me, last night, he's the closest thing that I've seen to, the way Vince Young just kind of controlled the game. He's just back there, calmer than everyone else. Throws, not with incredible arm strength, but a quick release and really accurate throws. And at the end of the day, has ice cold blood running through his veins. And when it matters, he's just breaking down what he sees and taking what the defense gives him. And that long drive to finish the game isn't the story because the kicker missed. Because, different players were making faces because they obviously were disappointed that they didn't get a chance to go to overtime. But for me, moving forward in the Brian Kelly, years to come at LSU, Jaden Daniels is the kind of kid that you could figure out how to win with. Now he's going to be playing some tough teams, and I don't know if LSU is a top 10 or a top 15 team this year. But I'm surprised to see them number at the end of the year, get a great recruiting class, get more athletic, get more used to the system. And not that they're not athletic now, but when you change coaches and you go from a Coach O to a Brian Kelly, especially on the offensive side of the ball, the expectations of what guys are doing where does change. So, LSU is going to be able to quickly reload. And if he's able to get his quarterback to execute his offense and they're able to put up points, they're going to be able to continue to get recruits. And I think that although Florida State had a great win week one, my concern would be some of the tendencies I saw from their quarterback, Jordan Travis, which I do want to say all time, great throws in the face of a targeting call. That is how you play football. And for a kid that watched early 90s quarterbacks and kind of modeled my game after that, when I had football pads on, which was really long ago, if you consider my A7FL career where I played tackle no pads. Real quick mention, check out the A7FL 3-on-1 podcast starring myself, but more as a backup role to Rob Fabian, my wife coughing in the background, which she also does on the podcast, and the great Matt Ryan, who is, currently outselling us in the merch with his Thick Boy Season t-shirt that you can find at tinyurl.a7fl. So that's my little promo thing.
We need to get some of that gear, actually.
I want to wear a Huss Huss shirt, but I just haven't been sent the Huss Huss shirt. I want people to understand what Huss Huss means. People don't until they watch and the context clues do very easily. Country K knows this, and he's been actually, unfortunately, been muted this whole time. He's been talking a lot, and I've actually heard him behind the scenes.
You have some great ears, sir.
No, you're good. I'm just joking. But the Huss Huss shirt I thought was going to be the best seller. My current shirt for me, first of all, it's weird. It's in the female cut of shirt, which is like what I'm pretty sure I don't have any female fans, and if I did, my wife would be really upset. But it says Corey has kids, which is a factual statement, but I don't think it's a catchphrase. I don't know if you guys listen, but the way we sign off, I think, is more of the catchphrase. Matt Ryan, tells the audience at home, warns them in a world where sometimes it's hard, and he says, "Don't be an asshole." And you guys know how I sign off?
I think I heard it one time on one of the episodes. It said, "I won't."
I'll try.
Or I'll try. Yeah.
Don't be an asshole. And Matt Ryan does the great, he does the great announcer voice. I think he does his wrestling, football, announcer voice, and then he mixes it in with when he goes into like pimp, like soft mode when he starts talking like softly. He does this, he does this nice little array, but he signs off specifically by saying, "And don't be an asshole. I'll try," and then and podcast. So it just goes to show you that despite my best efforts, which I promise the audience, I just can't help myself.
I'm looking into really quick this before we get you out of here. I'm looking at week 2 right now, and in the for the top 25, there's really not anything going on. I mean, there's Alabama, Texas, which for me, I look at this and I'm hoping it'll be competitive, but
I mean,
something tells me it's going to get ugly.
It's the same situation. Pac-12, Big 12. It's almost like they're the younger twins of the SEC. The ACC is the little brother, and the Pac-12 and the Big 12, they get a seat at the table. They're not like outside in the doghouse, or in the pool house or under a rock like some of the other conferences in the major division football. But the Big 12 and the Pac-12, they really struggle in these games, and
well, they need to not struggle because Texas is going to be joining the SEC pretty soon, so they need to be showing competitive signs early. Now, how competitive can you be against a number 1 ranked Alabama team? I don't know, and to be completely honest, I'm looking at it from a realistic standpoint of. We're probably looking at. I mean, they're 17-point favorites into this game, and to be honest,
so let me ask you this, Jay, because I think it would be a waste of time to really delve into an argument that Texas is going to win this game, and not that they can't, and it's not fair to tell any group of football players that they cannot do something, because it's obviously not true. However, realistically, when we're kind of looking forward, let's put the Alabama Texas game into a similar boat, let's say, as the Ohio State Notre Dame game, right? Um, if Texas walks out of that game with a 21-10 score, like Notre Dame walked out of the Ohio State game, you as a Texas fan, do you feel a little bit better about your
Yes.
team for the rest of the season? Yeah. So I think
Yeah.
that game, although
21-10. Yeah, absolutely.
so
If we could hold them to 21 points, that would be a
now
win in my book.
now it's in Texas, so that might matter.
Well,
Texas is not lacking actual talent. I think what they lack is depth, and they lack, a consistency with the message from their higher ups, like their coaching staff is always new at Texas, so it's hard to buy into a system that they can trust. So
Right.
this is a huge test for not only the fans to see how good this team is, but when you're in a college football locker room, these are the types of games that, as an individual human being, you're looking around at your teammates and your offense when you're a linebacker, or your defense when you're the quarterback, and you're saying, how good is this unit against a really tough opponent? You're dropping back to pass, you're looking at your offensive line, is like, do I have guys in front of me that can actually block defensive pass rush? So that's that game, to me, is really going to be it's going to be tough. What I think is going to be a better game, and say we're biased, I think the Kentucky Florida game is going to be a big thing. Now, by next week, when the rankings come out, Florida's probably going to be in the top 10. Kentucky right now sits at 20. I think that they might still
You think
be in the
Florida's
top
going
10.
to jump all the way to the top 10?
You know how the early football season goes. They beat a top 10 team. They have a name brand. People are going to vote for them. Now, I don't know if they'll make it to the top 10, but I was thinking in the top 10-ish. So I was thinking like 12, 13, 14, 15. So not 9.
Wow.
So they're in the top 15, excuse me. They're around that number, let's say. They're about 15, I say. If they get 18, I think that would be reasonable. If they get 12, I think that, it doesn't really matter. Who cares? Who are they jumping? They're going to jump Arkansas, who beat Cincinnati. Good win, but it's not as good of a win as Utah. Utah is a legitimate team. They're returning starters from last year, so they're returning a coach. They're the returning Pac-12 champs. I mean, in my book, that's a good team. Are they a great team? Are they going to make the college football playoff? Probably not. But Florida, I think, when they go and they're facing off against Kentucky. Kentucky's got a kid at quarterback that's pretty good. That's going to be an interesting matchup. And then the USC Stanford game for that Pac-12 game. I like Stanford. You saw Emmitt Smith's son get a lot of action last week. But it's against a tune-up opponent. That's going to be the first test for both of those teams. And USC comes in with a lot of hype. I think we were talking about the quarterback for Stanford, Tanner McKee. This is going to be kind of the litmus test if he is a guy that could potentially be a quarterback in the NFL. If he can elevate the team around him and he can hang with USC and look impressive, then it's a good notch on his resume. If he falls into the same pattern where he struggles unless the play is working for him, whether it's a breakdown in the pass rush, or the coverage is a little bit different than he expected, he struggles on that third and fourth read or the improvisational play. So if he hasn't progressed there might be an issue. But I think USC probably does win that game, but I'm keeping an eye on that game. And
I'm looking at this
Nebraska.
one real quick.
Go ahead.
This one kind of interests me real quick because I'm looking at the line and I mean, the rankings and stuff haven't been adjusted, but the way it is right now, number 10 Baylor, number 25 BYU, and they've got BYU favored by 3.5 points. So I'm trying to figure out what is it we're talking about a number 10 team versus a number 25 team, and the number 25 team is favored by, regardless the margin, the number 25 team is favored. Is there something going on at BYU that they're not telling us, or did BYU play somebody this last week to where they're thinking they have a better shot to win this game over a number 10 Baylor?
Well, again, the rankings are based on the Associated Press, which the fuck do they know really in weeks 1 and 2, right? Like they got guys that went to practices. What the fuck? What do they really know?
Yeah.
Now, BYU traditionally has been a team that can beat and hang with, those finesse type teams. When BYU faces a bully, they're going to get bullied. And, it is what it is. BYU this year, last year, even with Zach Wilson, they're not beating Ohio State. They're not going to go in and beat, they're not even going to look as good as Cincinnati did against an Arkansas team. Honestly, BYU, not that to disparage their program, not to disparage the state of Utah and what they have to offer, but if you ask me what's a better team, Cincinnati or BYU, I'm probably going to say Cincinnati. And to be honest, I haven't watched that much of BYU this year. It's week 1, right? I mean, there's only been 72 hours that we could have watched these games. But when you go somewhere, wherever it is, and you're traveling to BYU to play at BYU is going to be more comfortable. They're going to probably give Baylor their best shot. And to be fair, the line for the Florida-Utah game, which was number 7 Utah at Florida, and I might be wrong like I was when I was talking about week 1 a week early, but I'm pretty sure that Florida-Utah line was Florida -2 because they were at home against the number 7 Utah team. So, similar situation. These are all 18 to 24-year-old kids. Where and how they show up to the game, it affects them. And it affects them in ways that is tangible, according to Vegas, in the line, in the betting line that, these casinos are built on the backs of. And if you tell people that Baylor is got +2 going to BYU, and some guy that just was willing to buy Bed Bath and Beyond stock at 15 is going to look at that bet and he's going to say, I'm going to take the number 10 team with 2 points, and don't be surprised if BYU wins by 5. Likely, Jay and Country K, you don't have to unmute yourself. I know you're listening. Likely, BYU is up 5. Baylor has the ball, is driving, gets inside the 20, and as time ticks down, the ball slips out of a wide receiver's hands or something ridiculously stupid like that. Because guess what? If you're putting money on these games, you're going to probably have a broken heart, period.
So the game that you're looking forward to the most, your game of the week, what would you call that you're looking forward to for
All
week
right,
2 of the college football season?
So let's first start by saying that some of the best games this week were non-ranked teams, right? Some of the best games this week were, games that were, maybe no one was at all watching. But like Rutgers, Boston College, Rutgers is not a good football team. And they have a Greg Schiano, which is a former Tampa Bay coach. He got the Tampa Bay job because he made Rutgers a relatively decent football team, which is saying something. And he's back, and his stupid little metaphor, cliche, just keep chopping. Well, if you watch the final drive where they had 0 completions from their quarterback, if I'm not mistaken, they were able, after the score was 21-15, they were able to, on the final drive, manufacture a way to somehow run the ball in against the beast Boston College team, which isn't like they were playing, Samford with an M, right? So Rutgers 22-21, they just keep chopping. The LSU Florida State game, guys, that was a crazy game. And for it to end the way that it did, for all of the things that went into it, I'm just taking a look at some of these games. I'm probably going to go back to the Florida-Kentucky game because Kentucky is under the radar right now, but they have legitimate players at every level on both sides of the ball. They're ranked 20th, and they're Kentucky. So if they're ranked that early in the preseason, they have a legitimate football team. And for Billy Napier and the Gators to start off with a win against Utah, if they can get a win in a rivalry game against an SEC opponent, then they might be in the beginnings of maybe not a special season. I think they might be a year early, but this might be the right coaching move for the first time in a while at the University of Florida. But at the same time, if Kentucky can beat Florida, then we might be talking about Kentucky as a serious contender in the SEC East.
And when was the last time we got to say that?
When we were talking about basketball.
Right. Okay. So never when it comes to football. Ladies and gentlemen of the JAFFO Army, we appreciate them every week coming in talking college football. Week 2 is coming up, and we'll have a lot to talk about next week. Corey, appreciate you coming on as usual, my friend, and we'll see you next Monday.
Have a good one, guys. Country K, I know you've been silent, but I can hear your thoughts churning, man. So,
no, for sure.
How'd Miami look against nobody? Because I think that they showed up
against nobody.
Well, I mean, Bethune-Cookman. I mean, they're a staple in Daytona. So,
I mean, they had human beings on the field in pads. So for them to look the way that they did, they're priming up for maybe a decent run in the ACC. We'll see in the next couple of weeks.
I think so. We got Southern Miss. I feel like our real test is going to be A&M. We got them in next week. So
exactly. But let me say this, Jay. Next week, you talk about Miami, they might have a better chance against Texas A&M than next week. If you need like like tissues or some Advil for the headache that you get from watching the game that you're probably going to end up watching. I don't know if the beatdown is going to extend through the screen, but please don't sit that close to the television because Alabama is probably going to destroy Texas.
Oh,
cattle and every person in that entire state wearing orange.
Bevo is going to need therapy after this one, especially at home, because I have no expectations for this, so it doesn't bother me in any sense of the word, just at all. It's going to happen.
I think the line was 17. The line was 17, and I think
actually I just looked at it again. It just went up. It's up at 20. So,
well,
this whole time that we've been talking, they heard me and said, "Yeah, no, it's worse than that."
It's because you leaked that it was 17, and all the sharps were like, 17? Let's go. And now it's 20.
Yep, now it's 20. So
next week it'll be 21 or 28.
It might be 30 by the time the game actually comes around. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate it. Corey Hammond. We'll see you next week, my friend. Oh man. Yeah, man. I have no expectations when it comes to that game. It's not going to be fun to watch. It's not going to be easy to watch, but it's one of those things that you have to just deal with it, and it is what it is. Real quick, let's get into the fantasy football thing because I'm looking at the matchups right now, and it does say the best draft is awarded to the team with the most projected season points based on weekly optimal starting lineups, and that goes to Sunshine for the JAFFO Fantasy League draft this year. It says Amazingly Rock, also known as You Gotta Be Shitting Me, in the league, has not earned any medals in the league so far, so good for him. So here are the matchups. We got myself versus DJ Matchsticks. Projections got me kicking his ass 173 to 128. All right. Next team, next one, Shits and Kittles. Good name. Good name. That's Stav. He is going up against the brother-in-law Rock. You got to be shitting me, team. Stavs is projected to win 168 to 148. So that a 20 point butt whooping it's projecting right there. Next one down, can't guard Key. It's my boy Kier. And now let me make this clear, and this is gonna sound, fucked up, but he's my boy, and I can talk about him like this. It says can't guard Key. Now, that doesn't mean you can't guard him. That's just basically the nickname that they gave him because he can't guard anybody else.
Oh my God.
Okay, so
Oh my God.
it's
Oh my God.
it should be he can't guard in parentheses Davis, but he wanted to make, but it's one of those subtle things that you gotta have to read between the lines to really know what he's talking about. Um, he is going to go up against my nephew. Forgive the name, Zay Tupade. All right, his name is Xavier. Okay.
Zay too paid. What you talking about?
Z-
Getting money. That's what he's saying. He's saying he getting money. I feel it.
fix your name. Fix your name. The can't guard Key and Zay Tupade is once. It looks like a dead even. That is 160.15 to 160.61 in favor of Zay Tupade. Next one down here on the list, Tapa Siam Bay. Country Keg. No, okay, you do it. You do it. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Tampa Sam Bay.
Sam. Okay.
Sam. I say that motherfucker.
I'm not from
Sam.
Florida. I
How many
don't know.
rings Tom got? Sam. How many rings Tom got? Sam. You got 7 rings. Probably gonna get 8. Probably gonna get 8.
And he is going up against Vic's Bros Obedience School.
I'm about to switch my name now. I was gonna switch the name before the show, but hey, look. Matter of fact, let me switch my name now so you can goddamn go through it.
So I can see it. That's still a good one that Sunshine put up, though. I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty good. They got him projected to beat you 174 to 150. Got Super Camario, which, if I'm, I think Damon changed his name again. He's going up against SP200, 167 to 160 in favor of SP200. And then my father-in-law's team, the Dogs and Dragons, going up against that boy's dad. My brother Juan is in the league, and it's in favor to him 160 to 155 going into this week. So, yeah, man, it's yeah, me and my brother are the only ones who broke 170 in the projections. And then the closest one from there is Stavs. But yep, that's what it is right there, man. And that's what let's see. Let's look at Shits and Kittles versus You Gotta Be Shitting Me. Let's look at them. Uh-oh. Okay. Oh, you switched it? Okay. So let me go back. Let me refresh it. Maybe it's gotta. Oh. It's still loading up. Give me a second. God damn. What the hell am I looking at? Lewis self-defense. What? Lewis self-defense school. Oh no. Oh no. What is this in reference to? Because I can't really see the profile picture all that
Ray Lewis.
Oh goddamn. Oh no. I feel like I'm gonna have to. No, it might be too soon, and it might be too fucked up.
I think I'm finna go. I'm finna go Big Ben etiquette class. I promise you.
Would it be too soon and fucked up to put Henry Ruggs driving school?
Yes.
Too soon? Okay. Too
Very,
soon.
very,
Sorry.
very,
Okay.
very, very
All right.
much
I'll
so.
wait. I'll wait another season.
See,
I'll
me
wait
talking
another
shit. This is 2 decades ago.
season. Sunshine's is Vicks, and that was like over 10 years ago. Okay, so I got to wait 10 years for that to be okay.
5
All
minimum.
right. 5 minimum. Okay, so we'll wait a few more seasons. Season 7 is when that name will be acceptable. Shit, I still haven't gotten the grade thing just yet. Or at least maybe I have. I just haven't seen it. No, nothing yet. Which is weird because usually the grades pop up real quick.
Yeah, that
And
motherfucker's still processing. They like shit. This draft right here, it's like some people have fucking great drafts.
No, seriously, because I mean, I really do think like because again, we did draft defensive players, so getting all of those numbers and stuff like that added to it, and I'm sure it's going to
Man,
take
I
a.
miss you.
That
I'm
draft
like,
did take a little bit. Started at 4, we ended it at what, like 5:30, almost 5:45.
I don't know. I'm gonna say this. Whoever got Derwin James, holla at me.
That's my nephew. I'm pretty sure
Ooh,
my
what
nephew
up?
has him.
What up, Toupee? What up?
Oh man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna be getting out of here. Next episode we got coming to you Thursday. We've got the pleasure of having a guest on the show, David Isaacs. He is the president of the A7FL and former I believe he was one of the um, co-founders of the UFC. So he's going to have some stories and stuff like that of the early days of the UFC. We will have him on the show this coming Thursday, so you are not going to want to miss that. We will have, or I will have, well, no, I should say we should have more San Jose State talk on Thursday, talking about what happened more with Portland State and going into the game this week against Auburn, what they're going to need to do to be competitive in that. So Thursday's game is going to be fully packed, fully loaded. Maybe Sunshine can finally get off his ass and be on the show to talk about some Formula One coming in on Thursday. But don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath. We'll see how it goes.
He had a tragedy this past weekend. You know that, right?
What do you have? What? What do you have?
Oregon got their ass handed to him. You forgot it. Oregon. Hey, look, man, let the man lick his wounds, man. They got their ass whooped. They got their ass whooped, and the Colts didn't make nothing look promising for their whole season. This man right now in football, come on, bro. He probably ain't feeling the best.
He's probably just kind of like, you know what? I'm just gonna just chill at home.
Yeah.
And enjoy this fantasy football medal of having the best team while it lasts, because he might have some things going on that he might not enjoy, like injuries and that kind of stuff, because that shit happens all the fucking time. We think we know, and we think we're good. And then fantasy football gods come just right up. Again, social medias, you guys already know on Twitter, the JAFFOs AP. You can find myself at JPBP888. You guys see Country K863 over on Twitter and IG. That is for both of us here. For IG, you got JAFFO Sports for the All Pro JAFFOs. For Native Rose Productions on both YouTube and Facebook. And then on Twitch, PvP Studios live on there as well. Appreciate you guys for hanging out with us on this Monday. We will see you guys on Thursday for not just another episode, but some a conversation with David Isaacs, and Thursday night football is finally upon us. Football season's here, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy it. We're going to. And it's going to be a hell of a year, one to remember for the JAFFOs for sure. So, for myself, JP, for the 610 Beast, Mr. Country K, we will see you guys on Thursday. Deuces.
Aloha.